Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Travellers, Season 1, Episode 5. It's called Room 101. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. That's my cat scratching post in the background, in case you're wondering what that noise is, because he's inconsiderate. I thought this was a really interesting episode in terms of the way it swerved from the start, because the opening scene gave us a lot of things to chew on right off the bat, because we have this new entire family that are going to die in this car crash because the dad's went crazy and he's going to drive off the top of a car park.
Yeah.
And one of the travellers doesn't make it. They refer to it as a misfire. The daughter doesn't, get taken over. She's just still alive and normal. And it creates this awkward thing. And we find out that in the first wave, there was a 30% rate of misfires. And a couple of them didn't know that. And like, whoa, we weren't told that.
That's a lot, yeah.
Presumably it's gotten better since then, but it does happen still.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even last episode, Hall was saying how all 5 of his team made it and they don't realise how rare that is.
Yeah. And if he's been there a long time, he might have been in the first wave. Like, for him, it might have been that first batch where not everyone made it. So, I think that's... that was fascinating on its own, and they're setting up for this mission. It's going to take both their teams together to pull it off. We don't know what this is. And then out of nowhere, this truck crashes into the car, and everyone in the team but McLaren gets kidnapped. And they're all in these weird cages, they're in wheelchairs, they've got catheters in, they've got IVs in. And I think right from the get-go I was thinking, this is a test,
I was like, is this the mission?
Yeah. Well, I didn't think this was the mission, but I thought this was like Traveller, like making sure they were loyal, from the future the director had set up this...
Yeah. Which is why I thought that's what the mission actually was. There was no real mission. I thought it was just this for a while.
I thought there was, and then they kind of confirmed there was because they mentioned people dying as a result, and the other team was like, no, we've still got this to do. So it seems like whoever did this was separate from the Travellers, which is actually a lot more interesting, but I think because of the way it was set up, I really felt like... Because especially when they were being interrogated, which by the way I thought was cool, the old CRT TVs with the questions... But because of the way it was set up, it really felt like that old trope of like testing the loyalty of your own people. Yeah, and that's why I thought McLaren didn't get taken at first, is because I thought he was actually involved, he was behind it.
Yeah, as like the team leader, sort of.
But then, of course, David goes and sees him and is like, where's Marcy? And he gets worried and he starts hunting for them. It's like, okay, he's not involved. It almost felt like it was going to be too like network TV tropey, and then things didn't turn out the way I kept assuming they would, which is good, actually. I appreciate that.
It is, and I feel like it was a nice structural break as well, because it starts off like all the others for the most part. Like, here's something that's kind of happening. Here's a countdown timer, and then it just completely throws that away and does something different.
Then we had a lot of little tidbits. We find out a little bit more about their future lives in the past. You know what I mean? Their past and the future, with the different shelters and the domes, and how one of them had a roof collapse in and everyone died. And so I'm wondering here if we're actually that this episode's setting up the true villain of the show. Like, is there an actual opposing force that is aware of the Travellers coming back and is trying to stop? I'm tempted to call them the Rittenhouse of this show, but I will refrain from doing so.
Yeah, it feels like someone's kind of cottoned on to what's going on. They kind of pieced it together, and they realise when it's happening, and they're just kind of still trying to get information.
Yeah. That said, part of me still feels like deep down this is going to turn out to be like the Travellers themselves, like another cell of Travellers, and it's a test.
Yeah, I still feel like there's nothing that overtly says it's not that.
It's not. And if it is that, though, they're going to be pissed that Carly vampired out on the big dude from iZombie.
Hi, we talked about biting in the last episode.
Yeah, this was a full-on vampire bite that killed him. She drained all the blood from his wrist. Jesus.
Yeah, she just slit the artery. Just, oof.
Yeah. Nah. And I thought a lot... I was also really amused by Trevor's stuff in this episode. Him, wanting to be picked, and then he was really cracking me up, and he was like, is the lift going to go down? Is the elevator going down? It's like, oh no, we're going up, you son of a bitch, you tricked me. His sort of goading of the big guy was actually really amusing.
Well, that's the thing, the whole thing felt like... Part of why I thought it was a test is he felt like he was somewhat expecting it at times, where he was like, nah, it's fine, we'll get through it. and like, well, he was having fun with it almost because he was knowing what was coming.
I think it was just. I mean, if it isn't a test, I almost think it's just his way of trying to keep the rest of the team upbeat and keep them into the game, and just his sort of attitude in terms of opposing the force that's trying to control him. Like, he's not given the satisfaction of acting scared or acting, nervous or whatever. But yeah, it begs the question, and because it definitely ends with the cliffhanger of who did this, because it ends with Carl saying, "No, we didn't get to see who it was. When we only seen him, he's just this hired gun. Someone else is behind this. Dun dun dun."
And that's part of maybe think it was a test. They were going through all of them, and then they would have let them go, like after they all passed.
Yeah, that was the thing. The reason why McLaren even finds them is because it shows up in Deep Web, as if whoever was doing it finally let it out onto the back channels so that he could find them.
It felt like, oh, hang on, this guy who was going to let them out is dead. Well, how are they going to get found and get out now? So he kind of like, well, I'll give him a hint, and he can come and find them.
Yeah, that kind of felt like that, which is why I'm still thinking it maybe was a test. Or if it wasn't strictly a test, it was the director himself who's behind it.
Yeah.
Is he trustworthy? And McLaren goes to Officer Boyd, who we've seen in the first couple of episodes, who's, pissed that he's come to see her again because it's against protocols. But he's like, no, screw the protocols, my entire team's missing. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's get on with this. But no, it was fun seeing David interact with McLaren and seeing one of the supporting cast interact with
someone else's.
Yeah. On top of that, I think the filmmaking again was kind of on point throughout all the captive sequences, in the sense, small touches, just like the entire floor being kind of just having like an inch of water. So specifically when the wheelchairs were rolling through it, and you could just see the ripple of water.
Yeah, it really worked well when you had like the blood mixing with it when she was biting him.
Yeah. It was just this atmosphere it kind of built having this. As much as they are just kind of in an abandoned warehouse, they do their best to make it feel like it actually has some character and not just an abandoned warehouse that they could get easily to shoot in.
Yeah, they'd done something with it, and it stood out to the other abandoned warehouses that everyone's hiding out in.
Yeah, it does. And of course, like I say, the CRTV with the messages is just inherently kind of creepy. Why not use an LCD TV? But no, they have, because it's not that they all go to the same TV. They take all four of them to different locations around the building with different CRTV set up. So they've specifically picked 4 CRT TVs.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's actually a reason for that, or if it's just like a stylistic choice. But part of me thinks, is it because it has to be like an analog signal and new TVs don't have that?
Could be.
I don't know, but even the kid, you just plug in an aerial. But
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe there's not. Maybe
because they look creepy.
They look creepy.
To them, like they've got to be used to such advanced technology that this using the big bulky blocky stuff's maybe more creepy.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things, isn't it? In a horror movie, if you have a CRTV with static, it's actually a creepy thing to just have that on its own in an otherwise dark room. Whereas a modern TV, it's just the blue screen, or even if it does have a static mode, it's silent. You don't hear it. It's not as creepy. It's just it's sterile. It's digital.
You've just lost something, haven't you?
Yeah, but the analog is. We spoke about this when we talked about Channel Zero and how having the old analog signal and the idea that there could be hidden things in there because it can be interfered with, and adds to this creepiness. And maybe I'm diving way too into this for what it was used for in this show, but I feel like some of that kind of it's still there because you have these old TVs instead of the new ones. But
yeah, regardless of whether it was for plot reasons or just production reasons, it was a stylistic choice.
Yeah, and
I think it was effective.
Yeah, because it's just the way it kind of flickers as well when the questions come up, and it feels like an old, almost like it's plugged into an old Commodore computer or something like that, and it's.
Yeah, it really feels like they're trying to be off the grid with it.
Yeah. Maybe that's the point. Maybe everything's not connected to the internet. It's just connected to the one private thing that's sending the information. That said, the webcam was a lot more high-tech than the TVs were.
It was.
But then there's no such thing as sure, you can get a webcam from the 90s and it looks like a piece of shit, sure, but...
Yeah, what will be the point?
But yeah, webcams, by just the fact that they've only been around for 20 years, can't be as old-looking as... these TVs can. They can look beat up and stuff. But no, pretty straightforward. And again, like you say, it did break up the not a repetition per se, but it did break the formula of the episode in the sense that we didn't get a whole lot of the side characters. There was no Jeff, There was none of Trevor's supporting cast. We did get David, which again is nice because it makes him feel a bit more important and integral than the rest of them.
Yeah, he has since the start. And the thing I liked about it is it wasn't him in relation to himself and Marcy. It was in relation to the plot. So even though it was supporting cast, it was still furthering the one idea. It wasn't a separate subplot.
Especially since it was him that let McLaren know. McLaren didn't even know they were missing until he came in asking where she was. And he would have found out eventually, sure, but it did drive the plot forward. It had a purpose, like you say. That was good, and him being worried as well and clearly caring about her. That the scene that I thought was actually really sweet when he's on the phone to her, but he's just leaving a message, but he keeps talking to her like she's actually there, and he realizes he's doing it, and he keeps stopping himself. They're actually kind of sweet. They have a good chemistry, and they seem to care about each other, and I think that was building that quite well. So another solid episode. It was getting so close to the end before they got found that I thought, oh, maybe it's going to be like a two-parter, and they're going to still be in the cages.
I considered it as well.
Yeah, but then it just quickly, he finds them and fine. But it leaves us with this mystery of who this villainous force is. Is it just the director doing a test? Is there another group? I almost think the other group's maybe more interesting, but I can see it being interesting either way.
I think the thing is that gets me is the when are you from question. Because obviously that was the one that hung all them up as well. And if it was just another group...
Why would they ask that?
Why would they ask that unless they think, hang on, how far ahead of us are you from? Maybe they're from the first wave. And let's say the first wave was 20 years ago, I don't know.
I also think you could just explain. It's just if you're trying to break them to see if they'll talk, it's just a question you would ask. It doesn't necessarily mean something they actually want the answer to, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If it is a test, but if it is an opposing force that is actually not from the future and they're just like they're into this, they're onto this, and they know they're trying to find out stuff, then it's like, oh, there is meaning behind the question because they're trying to pinpoint exactly where these people are coming from, or I say when these people are coming from, and no, I think it's interesting. Add some mystery to what's going on. But that's episode 5 of Travellers. Still enjoying it. Still mostly pretty goddamn solid. So yeah, we will be back with the next review shortly, not too soon. We're rolling through them a little bit quicker. So thank you very much for watching, like and subscribe and all that stuff. Let us know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. And get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. And yeah, that's us. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.